I made the mistake of drinking like their water rather than bottled water.
What's this
Oh,
about? You kind of look
yeah.
like you're being birthed here.
So
Chris gonna be straight from the birth canal.
this was back in
You like that segue? Did you like that? Yeah.
No
was lovely.
wonder nobody wants to leave their mother's womb. It looks like this.
You just look so content.
Yeah, this was in Colombia. This is my first trip to South America that my friends on a whim had said. This was like friends from college that I hadn't seen since I transferred schools and graduated.
Yeah.
So they were like, "Hey, we would love to catch up with you," and they were like, "Hey, we're going to Colombia in a couple months," and I didn't have a passport at all, and I was like, "I'm going." So I went to, I think Target or something or CVS, and I just like got my passport and
You get your passport at Target?
yeah, you like
You
get your
can
pictures.
Go to Walmart too and get it done.
Yeah,
Really?
get your pictures taken and all that stuff. So
had
I
no
went and did
idea.
that. 2 weeks later, they sent me my passport. Like we booked the flight, and then we just like headed out. And Colombia was beautiful. Just because like I was afraid of going, and I'll just you know. I watched like a lot of movies and TV shows, so I'm just
If
thinking
you
like it's drugs and
watch-
crimes and
yeah.
cartel.
No.
Well,
Only-
when we had Kevin here, he talked about that because he went to Colombia when he was in the
Navy? Yeah.
and he talked about them going and having to stay in groups and stuff like that, and there was drugs and topless ladies. If you go back and listen to that story,
I didn't
it's pretty
see any of
interesting.
that.
I'm scared of getting some crazy disease
I know.
or something and like my butthole falling out or like my insides bleeding.
The water is different. So the food and water, I made the mistake of drinking like their water rather than bottled water.
Oh,
And because like when I
no.
came back, like my insides, like my bowels, I just couldn't stop shitting.
Yeah,
It was just like the
dysentery.
worst. Yeah. So like I asked my mom about it, and she called it like traveler's diarrhea or some. It was like some traveler's like thing, and it's essentially like when you go to a new country and like you're drinking their resources or your their food. Your body's not used to it, so it doesn't know how to like process and handle it, so it just like kind of shits it out. And she's like, "That's normal." I was like, "Mom, am I dying? Did I catch something?" She's like, "No, it's completely.
Yeah, am I dying?
It's completely normal."
It's so good that you have your mom like that, though, that you could talk to her about it. Because I would be so embarrassed. Like,
Oh
I'm not
my
gonna let my
God.
mom. I'm
No,
probably just gonna die.
I'm
Every
just gonna die quietly.
every medical condition, every question that I have, I go to my mom, and
That's
she's like,
awesome.
"Here's what it is."
It's cool to have your
Relax.
mom that she can actually be like, no, trust me, I'm in.
Yeah.
You said she's like a nurse.
Nurse practitioner, yeah.
So she can be like, you're not dying. It's okay. You're gonna crap
probably
your
so
brains out
sensible
for
about
a
it,
day or
too.
two.
Yeah, and
And-
the only thing that still kind of annoys me is like if I ask a question for a friend, she'll
Yeah.
think it's for me. So I'm like, hey, my friend, like he'll have like he'll probably catch an STD or something, or it's like, hey, what can I do if I caught this STD? How do I fix? She's like, when'd you get it? I was like, did you not read the text? I said my friend, but she's thinking it's me.
Yeah.
So I gotta like be very careful as far as like what questions I ask, because
She's like,
one, I'll be a phone call minute away. I'm like, Mom, I'm not in a position to talk right now. I'll ask a question and she'll call. She's like, what happened? Like, what's going on? I'm like,
what do you
She
need to
just
tell me
loves you.
something?
Yeah.
She's worried about
You
you.
need to tell me something.
That's
no.
funny.
So I'll make sure, like, if it's for me, I'll let her know it's for me. And if it's for a friend, I'll let her know it's for a friend. Because even my friends, they'll continually ask, like, hey, ask your mom what this is. I'm like, she's gonna think it's for me, dude. I'm not trying to do that, but
That's gotta be a weird position to be like. That's a weird middleman position. Like,
It
there's
is.
something stinging down there. Can you ask your mom about it? Do I have to?
I'm like,
No.
Don't
Google it.
like-
Go Google it.
Yeah, bro,
Li-
go on
listen,
WebMD.
CVS has a minute clinic.
Yeah.
Go over there. They're supposed to do that. I want to know your business.
Go ask that nurse. Stop. I don't want to
when
ask
you
my mom.
when you went to Colombia though, did you go on any of the Escobar tours? I watched the Dark
No.
Tourism, and he went on an Escobar tour where they like by the guy that actually worked for Escobar.
Mhm.
And they interviewed him and everything, and it was really interesting, but it was kind of creepy too, because it was like this guy's killed a bunch of people, and you're just walking around with him.
Yeah, I didn't have the chance to do anything Escobar related, but my best friend, he went to Colombia, I think like 3 months before we all went,
yeah.
Mhm.
and he's in that picture. He's like sitting next to
So
me.
this was in Colombia.
That was in Colombia as well.
What is that?
So that's a mud volcano.
What?
A mud volcano.
A mud volcano. So you drive like so you're in Cartagena,
Yeah.
and you drive like an hour away to like some mountains, and this mountain has this inactive volcano, but it's just filled with like mud.
Yeah.
And or it's like supposed to be like some
Good for your skin.
yeah,
like
good
a
for your
spa
skin
almost.
type of shit. So you're walking all the way up to there, and there's like a line of people trying to do so, and you jump in, or you know you're supposed to go in like just slowly, because if you do, like I think you could just like sink to like the bottom.
No, thank you.
So they're telling you just to like, you know, like relax and just take it easy. I didn't feel the bottom, and I'm 6'3", so I didn't know like how deep this thing went. So you sit in there, and the thing about when you travel to these countries is that they try to make money as much as possible from like everything you do. So as soon as you go there, for example, you'll have to get out because you're in rotation. Like a lot of people can't fit, so you'll spend about like 10-15 minutes in there, and then they'll be like, all right, let's get the next people in. So these kids, they're holding your hand, walking you down the steps to go to the lake to go wash off. And I'm thinking, oh, this is nice. Like, you know, you're washing me off. Like you're taking the bucket, put on my head and everything. And they're like, oh, it's going to be like, you know, $5 for this.
Wash the mud off.
To wash them up. Yeah. So people are in the streets, and like, I get it. Like they're trying to make as much money as possible, but you just got to be very careful. Like do not accept anything from anyone.
Yeah,
if
like,
you're
hey,
not
here's
trying
bracelet.
to.
No,
Yeah.
oh, thank you. Kind. Yeah. $20.
Yeah, some people will like put hats on your head, like, hey, like you look good, like somebody else, and just like, $10. I'm like, no, you keep it. Or it's a whole.
It's like
mess.
once it's on your head, they're just like, no.
Yeah,
You keep $20. You keep $20.
I know some people that went to Thailand that said it was the same way in Thailand, especially with kids.
Yeah.
Like even if you wanted a picture of them, like if they were in like traditional garb or whatever,
Yeah.
they would be in specific places. And if you wanted to take a picture of them, it was like $5 to take a picture of them.
I wonder why it's like that over
It's
there.
about
Is
poverty.
it the
It's about
tourism?
poverty and making money.
So you're in a tourist city,
Yeah.
or just a tourist part of town, and they're gonna try to make as much money as possible.
Yeah.
And the thing like about when I went to Cartagena was that I was just afraid just to go to Colombia at all, just because, you know, I just had this stupid perceived notion of like, you know, it being a dangerous place. And, you know, obviously depending where you go, it's going to be.
Yeah.
Of course.
But Cartagena was just like the most complete opposite of what I expected.
Well, they need that to, and that was something else that was on Joe Rogan that they talked about in Mexico and places like that. The touristy places, they're the least dangerous because that's where the country gets the most
That's where
money,
they get the
and
most
they
money.
need you to come in. So they said what happens, especially in like Mexico, is what Americans will come here with other Americans, and the Americans will kill the Americans and then blame it on Mexicans and then leave. You know,
Wow.
and so you know because they don't want that because they need the money from the tourists because that's where
Yeah.
their biggest industry is tourism.
I remember him talking about that. The cartel doesn't kill the white people and tourists down in Mexico. They want them to come and spend the money and buy
so
these
they
things.
can make more money.
So they can
and
make
it's the
money.
same. I'm sure it's the same way
It's the
here. The
same.
more people that come, the more money they can make, and the better off they'll be.
If you were to hurt, like, let's just say as a Colombian, if you were to hurt like one of the tourist visitors, or just even like anyone like not from there who's spending money, the local Colombians would take justice in their own hands before the cops would even do anything.
I'm sure.
Wow, really?
Yeah. And it's crazy just because like we had like our Airbnb host there, and we were just kind of asking her, hey, what's it do in the city? Like, is this safe? She's like, no, you can go here. You're like, you'll be fine. And I just felt comfortable like walking like the streets at night.
Yeah.
Just because we knew that, hey, there's like a lot of tourists here, and they can like spot you. Like if you're dressed different, you don't know anything. Like they're like, all right, I can try to get some
You're
money out of him.
probably very visible as a tourist.
Yeah.
You know?
So you're targeted in the sense of like, let me try to get like the most money out of him, but
Right.
you're not in the sense of like I feel I'm in danger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was great. But to go back to my friend, like he went there like 3-4 months ago, and he stayed in Pablo Escobar's mansion.